Have you ever stared at a photograph, a stunning portrait perhaps, and wondered if you could recreate it? Not with years of training, not with innate talent, but with just a pencil and a piece of paper. It feels impossible, doesn't it? A skill reserved for the gifted few. But what if I told you the key isn't mastery, but a different way of seeing? A different way of approaching the impossible. Imagine for a moment a simple gray square. Could you draw one? Of course. It's almost embarrassingly easy. Now could you draw another? And another? And another, until you filled a page with identical squares. Suddenly, the idea of replicating something complex doesn't seem so daunting, does it? Because if you can create one square, you inherently possess the ability to create every square necessary. And in that simple realization lies the foundation of world-class artistry. It's not about a magical touch. It's about breaking down the monumental into the manageable. Think about that for a moment. We often believe achievement is reserved for those with extraordinary abilities. We tell ourselves we lack the gift, the talent. But what if the truth is far simpler and far more empowering? What if the difference between dreaming and doing isn't a missing skill set, but a series of small, deliberate choices? Consider the life of Novak Djokovic. In 2004, he was ranked 680th in the world, a relative unknown. Just 3 years later, he soared to number 3, his earnings jumping from $250,000 to $5 million annually. Then, in 2011, he reached the pinnacle, becoming the world's #1 player, earning an average of $14 million a year and winning an astounding 90% of his matches. Now here's the crucial point. Djokovic didn't control those outcomes. He couldn't decree his ranking or guarantee a win. What he could control were the countless, microscopic decisions made during every point, every game, every match. The decisions that incrementally shifted the odds in his favor. This is what I call his decision success rate. When he was winning roughly 49% of his matches, he was also winning 49% of the points. To jump to the top 3, he needed to improve that rate to just 52%. To become a dominant force, a legend in his sport, it climbed to 55%. Just a few percentage points. The word "just" feels deceptively simple, doesn't it? It implies ease, but the reality is anything but. Yet these marginal gains are within reach for all of us. Let me share a story. My report cards from kindergarten through high school graduation echoed the same refrain. Stephen is a bright young boy, if only he would settle down and focus. They wished for something I desperately wanted myself, but simply couldn't achieve. From kindergarten straight through my sophomore year of college, I was a consistent C and C- student. A frustrating pattern. Then, during my junior year, something shifted. I decided to stop fighting my nature, my inability to focus for extended periods, and instead work with it. I realized I needed to change my approach, not my core self. Instead of attempting to force concentration, I embraced the short bursts of attention I could manage. If I had a 5-chapter assignment, I didn't see it as 5 chapters. I saw it as a series of small, achievable tasks, 3 or 4 paragraphs at a time. 5 or 10 minutes of focused effort. Then a break. A quick game of basketball, a doodle, a few minutes of video games. Then back to another task, not necessarily in the same subject, but requiring that same short, focused burst. and the results were astonishing. From that moment forward, I was a straight-A student. Dean's List, President's Honor Roll. Every semester, I went on to attend one of the world's leading graduate programs in finance and economics, employing the same strategy. It wasn't about suddenly becoming disciplined. It was about working with my inherent tendencies and making small, consistent adjustments. I carried this approach into my career, starting as an exotic derivatives trader at Credit Suisse. It led me to become global head of currency option trading for Bank of America, global head of emerging markets for AIG International. It fueled my success as a global macro hedge fund manager for 12 years, and ultimately to founding and leading 2 award-winning hedge funds. I was proving to myself that this wasn't just a fluke. But in 2001, a question arose. If this worked so well in academics and my profession, why wasn't I applying it to my personal life? To those big, ambitious goals that seemed perpetually out of reach. So I started experimenting. During my commute to work, a 45-minute walk each way, totaling 7.5 hours a week, 360 hours a year, I was essentially wasting time, lost in music on my iPod. One day, I stopped at a store, purchased the first 33 CDs of the Pimsleur German language program, and loaded them onto my iPod. But I knew myself. I'd inevitably slip back into my music. So I removed the temptation entirely. I deleted every song and left myself with only the language tapes. 10 months later, having listened to all 99 CDs 3 times each, I traveled to Berlin for an intensive 16-day German course. When my wife and children joined me, I was able to converse with locals, effortlessly navigating the city. They were stunned. But the truth is, there was nothing magical about it. It was simply the result of a small, consistent adjustment to my daily routine. A marginal improvement to my process. I started with just listening, and Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Suddenly, I could speak German. It struck me then, why should it be so easy for someone like me, someone who struggles with sustained focus, to learn a new language? It felt wrong. And yet it had happened. This realization spurred me on. What other ambitious goals had I been postponing, telling myself I'd tackle someday? I started exploring them. I obtained my auto racing license. I learned to fly a helicopter. I tried rock climbing, skydiving, and even aerobatic flight. And if you're like me in 2007, you might have had a similar goal, to get in shape. It would have been easy to fall into the trap of expensive gym, memberships I wouldn't use, or restrictive diets I couldn't maintain. But I knew those approaches rarely worked. So I thought about my existing habits and passions. Could I make a marginal adjustment to them, to nudge them in the right direction? I was already walking an hour and a half a day, and I loved being outdoors. So instead of setting a goal to lose 25 pounds, I resolved to hike all 33 trails in the front country of the Santa Barbara Mountains. I'd never been hiking before in my life. But it wasn't about the trails themselves. It was about breaking down that large goal into smaller, more manageable decisions. Those tiny decisions, like choosing to put down the remote, to put on hiking boots, to walk out the door, to drive to the trailhead, to take that first step. Each step a conscious choice to move closer to my goal. If you're thinking about the accomplishment, you're missing the point. The magic isn't at the summit. It's in the cumulative effect of those countless, seemingly insignificant decisions. If you don't make the right decision on the couch, there is no decision at the summit. By the end of the year, I had hiked all 33 trails, often multiple times. I lost the 25 pounds and capped it off by completing one of the world's most challenging half marathons, the Pier to Peak. In 2009, I became even more ambitious, resolving to read 50 books. But again, it wasn't about the number of books. It was about that single decision, when I was tired at the end of the day, to put down my phone and pick up a book. To read just one word. And then another. And another. In 2012, I set 24 New Year's resolutions. 12 giving resolutions, charitable acts that didn't involve writing a check, and 12 learning resolutions. I tried to donate blood, but was rejected. I tried to donate sperm, but was deemed too old. I tried to donate my hair, but apparently nobody wants gray hair. Even in failure, there was a lesson. Then came the knitting. My wife suggested it. Honestly, I wasn't thrilled. But one day, sitting under a 40-foot eucalyptus tree, I had a vision. That tree draped in yarn. I discovered yarn bombing, wrapping public structures in yarn. The second annual International Yarn Bombing Day was 82 days away. For the next 82 days, wherever I was, board meetings, trading floors, airplanes, even in the hospital, I knitted. One stitch at a time. And 82 days later, I had completed my first yarn bomb. The response was overwhelming. I kept going, tackling larger and more complex projects, incorporating new materials like fiberglass, wood, and metal. This culminated in a project at Tucson Medical Center, where I wrapped the children's hospital. Along the way, I discovered I preferred crocheting to knitting. And I began making granny squares, initially 7-inch squares. But why stop there? I started making them bigger. One day, I checked the Guinness World Records website. What was the largest crochet granny square? There wasn't a category. So I applied. They rejected me. They said, make it 10 meters by 10 meters and we'll create a new category. For the next 2 years, 7 months and 17 days, one stitch at a time, I worked. More than 500,000 stitches, incorporating over 30 miles of yarn. And now, I hold the official Guinness World Record for the largest crochet granny square. Throughout all of this, I've received a lot of attention. Features in Newsweek, Art News. But I want you to remember this. I'm still that C- student, still that person who struggles to focus for more than a few minutes. I possess no extraordinary talent or skill. I simply take ambitious projects, break them down into their simplest components, and make marginal improvements along the way, increasing my odds of success. The reason I'm sharing this isn't to boast, but to inspire. I want to encourage you to dust off those long-held dreams, those aspirations you've relegated to the someday list, and to start pursuing them, not with grand gestures, but with small, deliberate adjustments to your routine. Don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take that first step, make that first decision, and start building momentum. Because the extraordinary isn't born of talent, but of consistent, incremental progress. Thank you.